Hello, everybody, and welcome to ZTV Live. Today is Wednesday, September 23rd, 2020. I'm Susan Fleischman, and I'm so glad you're here tonight. We have a really chock-full show tonight. I'm thrilled for both sets of guests to be on our show. I wish I had some baseball ambient sound to show for a doubleheader, because that's what we have tonight. First at bat is Sharon Timmons and Deb Oelschlager. They are the co-chairs of the Swing for Pink fundraiser for breast cancer patients and the Inova Breast Cancer Center research. Normally that fundraiser has been at the Mount Vernon Athletic Club, which was an indoor tennis facility in the area for years, but that unfortunately closed permanently during the pandemic. So they got creative and they figured out a way to continue holding the fundraiser. So they're going to be on in just a minute, and we will learn more about that. And then after I speak with Deb and Sharon, I'm going to bring on two teenage young men, Mike Auld and Nate Hancock. And they are halfway done hiking the Appalachian Trail. They just graduated from West Potomac High School in June, and they have been living on the trail for 4 months, I believe. They'll correct me if I'm wrong. They've done over 1,100 miles, and they are... in between, they're doing a flip-flop, and they'll explain that to you too, and they'll be on after Sharon and Deb. So I'm so glad you're here. Please join the conversation. Send us any comments or questions for anybody. Just say hello, and let's get started without further delay. And first, I'm going to bring up Sharon and Deb. And hello, Deb and Sharon. You're on the air, so to speak. Welcome to ZTV Live.
Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Thanks for having us.
Yes.
Sure. Well, thank you so much for agreeing to come on. I know you guys have been very busy working on the fundraiser. So let's start with the history of the fundraiser. And I believe Sharon, I'm going to let you take this. I'm going to direct this question to you. How and when did the fundraiser start? I joined the club, and I know it's been going on ever since I was there for over 10 years. So can you tell us a little about how it started?
Yes, Swing for Pink started in 2006. It was the idea of Linda Shellhouse. We had a good tennis friend that died of breast cancer, Jean Magnoni, and Linda just thought it'd be fun to do a fundraiser for breast cancer awareness. So she enlisted the help of Maureen Sin, Ellen McMichael, and myself, and the four of us, plus other people. We got it going, and we've been doing it this is our 15th year, and we've raised over $208,000. And the event is going to be October 3rd at Lee District.
Wow. $208,000 is a lot of money over the years. My goodness. And who came up with the idea? Obviously the pandemic caused the event to go outside rather than, obviously couldn't hold it indoors. Even if the club were still open, you would not be able to hold it indoors. So Deb, can you speak to how that decision came to be with holding it outside?
Yeah, well, obviously it's the only place to do it, but we have a great committee, and Maggie Brittback and Jackie Yorgis are still actively involved, and the two of them, I think it was Maggie's idea, but the two of them worked on getting the venue for us. So they have 4 great courts there. We have them all reserved, so we're going to have a lot of round-robin tennis. We're going to have a lot of fun. So we're also having a food truck there, Meg Roll's food truck, and purchase, but they're going to donate some portion back to Swing for Pink and 50-50 raffle. So we're not going to have our silent auction this year because it was just a little much trying to go and solicit like the items where some stores are open, some aren't and such. So, but otherwise it's going to be the same great crew. We reached out to a lot of Mount Vernon Athletic Club members, former members, and hoping for new people to come as well, because we're just a community of caring people, and we want to support our community.
Yeah, that's terrific. I know I miss the club. I miss playing there. I miss seeing everybody who was there, and I know that a lot of people do. And there are so many tennis players in this area that kind of, are looking for any place to play. So I think that this is a great opportunity for them. And I wanted to emphasize that it's not too late to register for this event. And you can see the addresses up there on the screen. It's It's a little long. It's swingforpinkmtvac.wordpress.com. So anybody who wants to register to play tennis or even to come by on that Saturday, October 3rd, 2 to 5 at Lee District Park. Deb, how did you get involved? Do you have a personal connection to this fundraiser? I know you've been working on it for many years with Sharon.
Yeah, it started, Ellen McMichael found me just relaxing at the club, looking like I might need something to do. And so she roped me into, I'm going to say roped me in, but to do the silent auction. That's how I got started. And then after a few years of doing that, I became the chair. So I've been the chair for, not sure, 4 or 5 years. And we've just been rolling along. We've had a new blood come into the committee each year, so it's evolving and it changes, and then we get new ideas and such. So I'm hoping that we'll stay strong and be able to do it again next year as well.
Yeah.
So this year is our first year where we have a Facebook page too, though, trying to catch even more members and such since the club closed. So that's at Swing Pink. That's a great
way to raise awareness as well. So,
could I say something?
Sure, please go ahead, Sharon.
Okay. Also, the day of the event, Gretchen Thompson, who was at the club, is going to be doing an exercise class there, and people can come and do that. And there's also going to be, and Deb, you have the specifics on this, the jewelry promotion.
Yeah.
I don't think we mentioned that yet.
Yes. That's going to be after the event on Thursday, October 8th and Thursday, October 9th. Kendra Scott Jewelry. It's a very philanthropic business. They like to give back. That's part of her premise for having her business. So we're going to have an online shopping event. So think about everybody in your life that you need to buy jewelry for. That's Thursday, October 8th and Friday the 9th, and it's from midnight the morning of the 8th and all through midnight of the 9th, so 48 hours. And the give back code is the code is giveback9467. So
That's
you'll see
right.
that on our Facebook page and our website shortly as well. So
it is on the Facebook page and on the website, and it's also in the story. An article just went up on the zebra.org website today. So, and the shopping, the Kendra Scott shopping code, and the link to get to that shopping event on October 8th and 9th is also embedded in that article. So if anybody's interested in looking for that, please go to the article on the Zebra, or if you're on Facebook, you can visit the Swing for Pink. Is it the MTVAC Swing for Pink page on the Facebook?
Yes. The name is, we're kind of a mixture this year. Some stuff still has MTVAC or Mount Vernon Athletic Club, and other stuff we've changed to Swing for Pink, just so people can kind of make the connection still and know
Terrific.
that it's us and that we're legitimate.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. If you're on Facebook, you must be real. And can you talk a little bit to where the funds that are raised, where they go?
They go specifically to the Breast Care Institute at Inova Mount Vernon Hospital, and the Joe Viar and Bonnie Christ Cancer Center at Inova Alexandria Hospital. And they're part of the Shar Cancer Institute. Inova did a reorganization, and so now they fall under the Shar Institute, which I think is the perfect place for them, because it's an umbrella that provides additional services throughout Fairfax and counseling services that the patients at Mount Vernon Alexandria can also take advantage of. And that's all the Inova Health Foundation.
That's fantastic. I'm actually just cycling through some of the photographs that we have. The most impressive, of course, is the check presentation from last year for $32,739. That's just a huge amount of money to raise. I mean, congratulations on that. And I know that it's, unfortunate that you can't raise that again without the silent auction. I know you guys are doing such a heroic and creative thing in keeping this going. So, and I know that, last year you just were able to give so much back to the patients as well as to the research folks over at Inova.
Yeah, we set a slightly smaller goal this year for $20,000 since we won't have the auction, and we're already up to about $12,000 between sponsors, donations, and registrations. So we're hoping that we can reach our goal of 20,000, and hope that members of the community will help support this event and make a generous donation. If you also would like to come play, we'd love to see you out there at the round robin and just register. Or if you can't make it, consider a donation, because it takes a community to join together to help those that need the most help.
Absolutely, absolutely, and there again is the website is there up on the screen. It is a little bit long, so also it's also embedded in the article on the zebra.org. If you could just go look for the Swing for Pink article on the zebra.org. It's also on the Zebra's Facebook page today, and you can find the link to make the donation to register for the event. And don't forget to bring a little cash and get some Meg rolls, because the Meg rolls truck.
Actually, I met Megan today. She was in my neighborhood, and I told her how excited we were. And Deb and I and Jackie and Maggie have all tasted those Meg rolls, and they are delicious.
They are delicious, yeah. I have to agree. The Meg rolls, and it's such a unique idea. It's such a fun truck, and Megan is great. I've met her as well in the neighborhood, Sharon, and so it was really a lot of fun to run into her. I'm so glad you ran into her today, and that she knew that we would be singing her praises tonight. I think that's fantastic.
I told her to tune in and watch.
Okay, good. Well, hopefully she is. Well, is there anything else that you want to add? I just want to make sure that people know it's Saturday, October 3rd at Lee District Park, outside 2 to 5. Masks obviously required if you're there and not playing tennis. Social distancing will be required. If it's raining, the rain date is that Sunday, same time, 2 to 5 at Lee District Park. And that obviously if you can see it to make a donation, it would be a wonderful benefit to the fundraiser itself. And I just want to thank both of you so much for everything that you do to support this cause every year. It's really women helping women is just a wonderful thing.
Well, thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us. We appreciate it.
Sure thing. And, yay for us for making this phone call work today, too. So congratulations.
All right. Thanks,
Okay.
Susan.
Okay, guys. Take care.
All right. Bye.
Okay. Well, that was our first game of the doubleheader tonight, and what a wonderful cause. And again, if there's anything that you can do to support such a wonderful cause, please look for the article on the zebra.org. All the details are there. And I'm not going to waste any further ado. I'm going to bring in Mike and Nate, who've been waiting very patiently in our green room. And Mike Auld, Nate Hancock, welcome to ZTV Live.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm thrilled to talk to you guys again. The last time we spoke, you guys were hunkered down in Kent, Connecticut, and I was here in my office, and we spoke over the phone, and it was a wonderful conversation. But I do remember at one point in that conversation, you were kind of, when I was asking you how far you had come so far, and you realized that you guys had already done 20% of the trail, and you were both a little bit awed by that.
The sensation only grew the further we go in.
I bet. So, are you feeling a little bit of a culture clash being at home for the last couple of days? You guys got home Sunday, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Nate, I'll throw this to you. What's it like to be home again? Is it a little bit odd, or did it pretty much feel comfortable as soon as your head hit a pillow again, a real pillow?
It is very odd. Yeah. So one of the biggest things for me is the difference in sunset time. So
right.
In Maine, the sun sets 40 minutes earlier. And so that's been throwing me off all week.
Well, sure. But what about like being in a kitchen with food at the ready, and turning on a light when you want, or kind of sitting down and not walking for 8 hours?
Yeah, no, it's very different. Yeah.
When we're on trail, we don't have a lot to do cooking wise, because we're just using a pot and a burner. So I was able to make a really nice kind of meal the other night, and it was just really nice to actually be in a real kitchen. It was like, wow, this is what this is what civilization feels like, and it was kind of nice.
Yeah. What So I talked to you guys in Connecticut, and you were already marveling over the fact that, you and your family had driven, that far, and here you guys had already walked that. And you had been on the trail was that 6 weeks when I spoke with you?
Sounds about right, yeah.
Uh-huh. And then, and that was, 2 months ago, I believe. So, what were some of your, highs and lows since you've been, let's start with the highs, Mike. What was, the breakout point that stands out in your mind from this first half of your completed part of the trail?
I mean, I think part of it is just the simplicity of the way you're living out there. Now that I'm back home for a few days, I've noticed it's very much, it's everything we have to stick to a schedule, doing this and this. And when we're out on the trail, we're just hiking. There's not a lot the kind of the sense of urgency to do really, in a good way. The kind of sense of urgency to having a bunch of tasks needed to be completed isn't really there, and that's something I'm realizing that's kind of one of the nicer parts of the trail. Not to mention also like just the astounding views and just outdoors and nature itself is pretty nice as well.
Yeah, I would imagine. I'm going to cycle through a couple of these photos that you gave me while we're talking, but I saw, and people can follow you guys on Instagram. And I'm starting off with the hero shot here. Where is this? This shot is spectacular. This is the shot of it's basically a spine of a mountain with an amazing blue sky. I mean, it almost looks like a painting.
Oh, that is Franconia Ridge. So that is in the White Mountains within New Hampshire, and that's probably one of, like, when you think of people, they post photographs on the trail, that's one of the most common, most kind of stunning views, because it is exactly like you're saying. It's a very small pathway, and it's just it drops to your left and it drops to your right, and we hit it on just the right day. We were really lucky, and there was just beautiful weather, and it was just stunning. It was just beautiful views. That's Franconia
stunning.
Ridge.
Oh, that's gorgeous, and it almost makes the letters A and T in it a little bit, with the triangle, or maybe that's just me assigning letters
a little bit
to
unintended
things.
symbolism, but yeah.
Yeah. And then let's see. Here's another shot here. Just a beautiful shot. This is probably Nate ahead of time, where the road diverges into a fork in the road. Did you guys ever take totally different paths while you were going?
With one exception I could think of, no. There's one instance I tried to take a different side trail, and I'm not going to be taking any more side trails. So
what happened?
It was just because it just wasn't that well hiked. It was just a more difficult trail, and it was up in the White Mountains, right along the Presidential Mountain Range. So it was just not as well trotted as the AT.
Gotcha. So you're stepping over branches and rocks and trees and limbs and stuff. So yeah. Yeah, I can see that would slow your pace down. So why don't you guys walk me through, and Nate, you can start this one. Walk me through, your typical day. You wake up, and then what?
We wake up. We started eating breakfast in our sleeping bags up in Maine because it was cold. But so normally we break camps. We pack everything up and then eat breakfast. And so, we clean up our tent, pack up our tent, and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Eat breakfast, and then we'll walk. We'll pick a place to stop for lunch, and then that we think we'll be at about noon. And so we'll walk until we get to our meeting point.
Mm-hmm.
Then we'll sit down and have lunch, and that's normally about an hour. And so about 1 o'clock, 1:30, we start walking to the campsite, and then we get into camp. It varies, depends on how many miles we're doing that day, but anywhere from like 5 to 7. And then we set up camp, eat dinner, and go to bed.
Yeah, it does seem like the simple life, but I something tells me it's kind of anything but. Did you guys always walk together? I seem to remember Mike explaining a little bit that Nate, you would get a little bit of a head start, and Mike would invariably catch up to you. Is that true, Mike?
Yeah. Typically I compared it, as I might have said before, a little bit more of a kind of tortoise in the hare. I tend to hike a little bit faster. However, I also get distracted very easily. So typically I'm a little bit later out of camp. I take a couple more breaks than Nate probably does. So typically we don't always hike together, but we always agree on meeting points to meet up at a location. Is part of it's just a convenience, because also we share a lot of gear. I carry most of the food. He carries most of the other gear like stove and the filter, so we very much depend on each other. We can't really function without each other in the long term gear wise. And it's also the checkups at lunch, and sometimes we'll meet to filter water. That's all important, just as in a proof of life sense. Making sure that we didn't like fall off the trail or get hurt or die or something like that.
Yeah, because those would be a real buzzkill if any of that happened. Yeah, that would not be good.
Yeah.
I see that we have a question from our audience, Gina Cavallaro. Thank you so much for chiming in. She's wondering if you have any advice on how to avoid blisters. And how do you, did your feet need special care? I mean, that's a lot of miles to put on, and did you have to change shoes out at all?
Yes. Yes, we
you
did.
want to take this one, Nate?
Go ahead, Nate.
I started with a pair of boots that I'd been using for a while, and then I got rid of those after 3 weeks. And then I got rid of them in Delaware Water Gap, which is the end of Pennsylvania. And I didn't replace those boots until Stratton, Maine, which was about 750 miles, which was 150 miles too far.
Uh-oh.
Like, the sole of my boot was half off the rest of the shoe.
Oh, no.
So it was, those boots were very bad.
Oh, that's terrible.
Well, no, they were good boots until I pushed them too far.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a pretty tall order for boots to fill, right? I mean, that's just treacherous. I mean, so were your feet okay?
Yeah, my feet were fine.
That's good.
It's just the last few days were kind of rough, but they made it. I made it.
Good.
So.
And last thing, also answer your question about blisters too. One thing I always hiked with is there's a special type of hiking socks that are kind of have 2 layers in them, so allow a little bit of movement, and I've hiked with them since I've used these socks since I was a Boy Scout, and I wear them all the time, and I've never really worried about blisters. Of course, they still are a thing to do. You can also get sock liners too. And there's a whole bunch of other stuff to other type of equipment. Just go to REI and ask someone about how to deal with blisters on the trail. And lastly, if you do get a blister on the trail, the main way to deal with that is just, if it's big enough and it's big enough a problem, you have to just kind of stop and take a day to rest and recover and let that heal a little bit before you press on and keep going.
Yeah, that would be a drag. I would imagine that there's no shortage of products that you could either endorse or say, you don't need it. Like, what were some products that you thought were, wow, this would be great, this is really going to help us, and you're like, no, forget it, it's not worth the wait. I mean, by weight, I mean, heavy weight. Were there any things that you thought you brought on looking forward to using it and then just kind of chucked it at the beginning?
I got rid of my headlamp initially, and I didn't use a headlamp in the entire first half, but I'm going to pick that back up because the sun's going to start setting earlier.
That's right.
And there's all kinds of stuff too that I ended up ditching as well. Like I had this, or I don't know why I didn't actually end up dropping it, but I never used it though. I had these like kind of bug spray, kind of disinfectant kind of wipes that I thought, hey, as we're heading up north, there's lots more mosquitoes and bugs up there. And then the cold came in and did the work for me. So I hiked with like a mosquito net and some of these bug repellent that never ended up getting used. So there is all kinds of stuff that you just you think you're going to need, but you end up not needing.
Sure. Well, you might want that bug repellent when you start going down south. I mean, right now we're in a cold snap, but you can have that second summer that can hit, at the early October, before you know it. So my advice would be, if it doesn't take up too much room, don't throw that thing away quite yet.
Alrighty.
Tell me about, have you met, characters on the trail? Are you kind of still chuckling about some of the people that you met? And is it crowded, or were some sections more crowded than others?
Yeah. So obviously there are some more interesting, populated, kind of, for lack of a better word, more popular spots on the trail. Some spots within the White Mountains. There's like Baxter State Park is pretty popular as well,
And what
and some other
state is, what
small
state, I'm sorry, what state is the White Mountains in Baxter State Park?
White Mountains are in New Hampshire. Baxter State Park is in northern Maine.
Okay. It's amazing
And
the
typically,
terrain you guys have covered. Holy mackerel.
and so typically you find a lot there's normally a set kind of number of section hikers and through hikers, just there aren't that many of them. So but typically on some of the more crowded places you run into a lot of day hikers, just people out for the day, and it can be frustrating a little bit. There's one place in New York called the Stairway to Heaven. It was a pretty steep ascent, and it was kind of tough. It was at the end of a long day, and then there's just tons of people. So that was kind of the part that kind of drew us a little overboard. But
Yeah.
those are some of the But on other parts of the trail that are kind of remote, and especially this year too, there aren't a lot of through hikers. There could be times when you'll barely pass anyone the whole day. You roll up to a shelter, and there won't be. It would be me and Nate at the shelter,
Yeah.
which is kind of weird or trippy. Or sometimes at the shelter, most times actually, it'll be only one or two other through hikers there.
Yeah. Yeah, I have a picture actually of you and Nate at the shelter. I believe it's Nate's just laying down on the ground, and you're in the upper right corner of that mic.
Hmm.
Do you just fall down and into the bed when you get home? You guys must have slept like babies, did you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just got to be exhausted. Our viewers are fabulous, and I have more questions coming in. How did you keep in touch with their families during the hike?
There was pockets of cell service, but we also used a GPS satellite tracker that allowed to send texts via satellite and GPS.
Perfect.
Yeah, via satellite.
Mm-hmm. Excellent.
Yeah, I had
Go
pretty
ahead.
consistent cell coverage throughout most of the trail
Oh,
until like the
interesting.
last little bit in Maine.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
And what else? Here's another question. Is there anything? What did you do for entertainment besides the fact that you were out in the open? Like, did you have books to read or anything like that?
I have probably too many downloaded audiobooks. I did the math at one point and had 7 or 8 straight days worth of audiobook content. I listen to music and all that kind of stuff as I hike, and just downloaded movies and what kind of stuff I have on my phone. I'll occasionally indulge in, I guess. But
Mm-hmm.
9 times out of 10, when I'm rolling into camp and I set up a tent, once dinner is made, once the sun goes down, your body and your mentality too just says there's no reason to be awake, and you just kind of fall asleep.
Yeah, yeah, almost like the pioneer days, like like Little House on the Prairie, right? Um, Nate, did you also listen to music while you were hiking?
Music, and I did a lot of podcasts.
Oh, okay.
So,
Interesting. So it's so funny because sometimes it almost feels like even though you were together, you kind of both had your own experiences, but you also were doing it together, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It helped so that we didn't drive each other crazy.
Uh-huh. That's a good, that is definitely a good strategy. And Susan Engels asked the question, did the towns along the way, was there anything you couldn't do because of COVID, or do you just put your mask on when you went into town and everybody else had their masks on as well?
you put the mask on, and everyone else has the mask, and there really wasn't anything that we needed that was closed.
Mm-hmm. And how good were like all those greasy pizza dinners and everything else and burgers that you could finally get?
Those were good.
You can tell it's in your expressions speak a thousand words. Did you have any interesting wildlife encounters? Nancy Parlett would like to know.
Not particularly, no. We expected to see a lot more like bears down in New Jersey because there's a lot of bears down there and a bit more moose up in New Hampshire. But honestly, there wasn't as much wildlife as I was expecting.
Oh, interesting. Maybe they were all quarantining because of COVID. Here's
Maybe.
another question. How much weight were you carrying? Did you limit the weight to a certain pound amount, and what was that?
Hmm.
Oh, I
Here,
guess
how
I
about
guess it
here?
wasn't
I can go
conscious.
first for this one if you'd like.
Okay.
I can only estimate what my pack weight was, because the heaviest part of the pack was the food. So probably without any food or water or supply options, I probably had like kind of 20 to 25 pounds worth of gear or whatnot. But you don't really there wasn't a lot of scales along the trail, and typically because food is such a unknown variable, sometimes you have to just get what you can find at either a gas station or a small grocery store. The typical limiting factor weight wise is just, you carry a bunch and it's just awful those first couple days, and you just tell yourself, I'm never doing that again. And just you typically the thing that stops you from carrying too much is just that memory of that time when you hiked out too much food.
Yeah, I guess you really. There's kind of nothing I would imagine. There's nothing like, what do I need, and if I don't need it, I'm not carrying it. I guess it becomes a very simple equation after a while. What? There's a couple of other questions here. What? Now, somebody was asking if you plan to. Jim Clautis. Hi, Jim. Thank you so much for viewing and for asking a question. And Jim wants to know: do you plan to finish the trail, the whole second half of the trail this year? And if so, what's your estimated finishing date?
Yeah, we're going to finish it this year. We leave tomorrow. And then our goal is the week before Thanksgiving.
Oh,
So,
wow. So is that about the same amount of time, or will it go a little bit, the southern half go a little bit faster than the northern half because you don't have as many mountains?
the southern half will be faster because it's 140 miles shorter,
Ah,
and the mountains are a bit easier.
yeah, okay. Um, excellent. Did you guys lose weight?
Yes. I lost
Excellent.
about 35 to 40 pounds.
Oh,
Wow.
uh-oh. Hold on one second.
Okay,
Keep talking.
we will.
Yeah.
We can still kind of see you. You're looking very noir.
There we
Um,
go.
so,
I
see,
accidentally
all
kicked
fixed.
the power plug.
Yeah, there's never anything that can't be fixed. So, so that's really great, Nate. And do you think it was just because of physical exercise, or maybe not eating junk food? Are you a junk food connoisseur, or
It's the exercise.
yeah?
Yeah. And once
We
I
ate
had
a lot
lost,
of junk food,
yeah.
Oh,
Once
so it was definitely exercise.
okay,
once
that
I
makes
lost
sense.
the weight, I could feel the lack of calories in my body.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah, I could feel my body wanting more.
Hmm.
Because when we go into town, we would just eat and eat and eat. We would eat a lot of calories in food, and that because as your body, the fats get stored away for long-term use and all that. You've all that health class stuff. But as you're hiking, and once you've kind of burned up those reserve calories, you kind of hit this wall. You're going, oh, and that's when you stop kind of thinking, wow, my pack is heavy. And you start thinking, when's the next time I can get to town and order 3 more pizzas or something along the lines of that.
Right, right. Um, and I don't think that you answered my question before, but are there any people that you met along the way that really stick out in your mind as a character?
There's quite a few. You wanna
Oh.
take this one?
No, you can take it.
Uh-oh.
There's plenty of people that we can think of. There's one man in particular. One comes to mind right away. He's a really nice, soft-spoken gentleman, probably late 40s, early 50s. His trail name, as people assume, kind of an alias or whatnot, just for really the fun of it. His trail name, he went by the term Mumbles. He was very, kind of had a soft-spoken, didn't talk too loud. He was just a really interesting guy. He was super nice, and he had this whole drawing notebook. He would draw all kinds of cool things, and somewhere along right near kind of New Jersey and New York, he was basically indirectly struck by lightning.
Oh,
Really?
He's totally fine. We saw him the day after he went to the hospital. He took a day, I believe he took a day to recover. He took some time to recover, and we saw him later on the trail, and he's perfectly healthy. But it was just like, wow, that's kind of crazy. That's kind of insane. There's all kinds of crazy people, crazy in a good way, but just interesting people with interesting stories.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And can you talk a little bit, Mike or Nate wants to take this, but I remember in the article, and I want everybody to hear about this because it's just great that and the Trail Magic or the Trail Angels.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Mike. Take this one.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. So typically along the trail, it's just trail magic was known as just kind of acts of kindness along the trail, and the trail being a difficult thing to do as it is, a lot of people like to just do what they can to help make that easier. Sometimes you'll come across a road crossing and there will be a little cooler or like a little bin out there written saying through hikers, and there'll be a bunch of snacks and resupply stuff inside. Sometimes people will, in a parking lot that the trail goes right next to, they'll set up a big picnic table and a bunch of lawn chairs with a bunch of snacks and goodies out and say, hey, come sit down, just, take your pack off and just chatting for a while. Sometimes people will do all kinds of nice things. Just really absurdly nice things, and it takes a while to get used to it when you think you were so used to being told, oh, this is too good to be true, this is someone's trying to play an angle or they want something, and it's just not the case. People are just that outrageously kind. In the latter half of Pennsylvania, or not latter half, there's a section of Pennsylvania where water got really scarce. The small streams just became rarer and rarer and drier, and yet at every single road crossing for a good 3 to 4 days, about 8 or 9 of these different road crossings, there's consistently 20 to 30 gallon jugs of water, clean water, that some guy who went by the name Mun, M-U-N, he had just left those out just for through hikers, and he would just leave these out, and because of that, we never really had to worry about water for that section.
Wow.
Where water was kind of an issue, and it was just that's what he does. He's been doing this for several years, and it just blew me away how overwhelmingly kind people were.
Yeah. And it must bring him so much joy knowing that that it's so appreciated by all of you hikers out there too. That's lovely. I do love that story. I was going to ask this question, and lots of people want to know, what are your guys' trail names? Nate?
I am Snake Bait.
Snake Bait. Is there a story behind that?
So through Pennsylvania, Pennsylvania is full of rocks and has a lot of snakes. So almost every day in Pennsylvania we saw snakes, and one day we got rattled at. And so through Pennsylvania, Mike and I were hiking together, and I ended up hiking in the front most of the time. And so...
But you were never
Nope.
bit. Oh.
Never bit.
Boy, that must be a pretty terrifying feeling, hearing a rattle.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, it definitely sent shocks in us, and we just
Started
it was
running.
kind of this nope. We picked flight, not fight, and we just not ran, but just like hike out of there as fast as we could, talking very loudly.
Yeah.
Just, let's get out of here.
Did you say, why did it have to be snakes? Like, right out of back
Indiana
to
Jones, yeah.
Indiana Jones.
Right,
That's it. Yeah. Well, I mean, they do live there, but that's just a little close for comfort, I would have to say. And Mike, what's your trail name?
I chose the kind of convoluted name of Watney. It's a reference to a character from a book, the turned movie. Many of you might be familiar with it. It's called The Martian.
Oh, yeah.
Matt Damon gets trapped on Mars, and he is tracked like crazy by NASA using satellites. And my parents, I think it was really helpful that they have that GPS tracker, but they were very very watchful through the means that they could to track our progress. They have a map on our wall where they put off tings of our campsite, so I kind of compare. It was a little bit like that. So
Yeah.
That's what I went with.
Yeah. You didn't grow any potatoes in your tent or anything, did you?
No, I did not. I think I'm all the better for it.
Yeah, probably. And you weren't stuck on Mars anyway. You were on the move. You were on the move the whole time. Was there
I
a
also wasn't presumed dead for 2 months either, so that was that was a nice
exactly.
as well.
And that's you don't want to put your parents through that. That's for sure.
No,
So
it's actually super helpful having a GPS tracker. For a brief stretch, my phone had died just because I was using it too much, to be honest, and I needed to send a text to my parents because they were meeting us close by. So having the ability to send a text via satellite was helpful. So even if my phone dies and whatnot, or I'm out of service for a large number of days, which happens more often than you'd think. Well, I mean, in the wilderness, it's helpful to have communication. And lastly, it also has an SOS button if all things go wrong.
Perfect.
Literally call out the helicopters and bring them over.
Sure.
Which is very helpful.
Yeah, I mean, you want a big adventure, but you don't want to be crazy or stupid, really, and not have coverage if you need. And speaking of your parents, what was it when you guys were like, "Hey, we're gonna hike the Appalachian Trail," and they were like, "Okay, great. Here's a GPS tracker." Was it easy to sell them, or was it kind of a? Did you have to kind of talk them into it, or did the conversation take a little while to evolve?
So this was a while ago, but if my memory serves, we decided we were going to hike the trail, and then we created a preliminary plan to pitch our parents before we talked to them about it. So we had a pitch ready.
Smart.
Yeah.
Well, I remember also them kind of, this was a few years ago when we had planned to do this, and I remember them saying, "Oh, sure," as in, "Wow, this is some crazy plan. They'll probably forget about it." And then a couple years later, we actually started becoming serious about this, and they kind of went, "Oh, wow, they were serious about that. We got to support it now." But no, my parents have been extremely supportive, and I'm very thankful for them.
That's excellent. Well, you guys are also incredibly and almost unusually well prepared for it through your Boy Scout career and all of you guys had leadership roles on your overnights for camping. And so I know Nate, your dad had mentioned how impressed he was by, in the beginning, after a couple of weeks that you guys were in, like your decision making. And so that really put their minds at ease as well. It's not like it was just you were two kids, who had no experience at all, who all of a sudden decided to do this. What would you say in terms of that Boy Scout experience was the most helpful for you that you found yourself relying on as the days and weeks wore on?
Good decision making skills.
Yeah.
Like
there were a couple. Elaborate. There was a couple times when or there's one instance that comes to mind in particular when we were about to ascend a mountain in a pretty rigorous alpine zone that was coming up, and we decided to cut the day short just to let a storm blow over, and instead of just kind of pressing on without heeding any warnings and just general. And even so, we were definitely kind of caught off guard. It was still kind of windy when we ascended this mountain, so we then found using this really navigation app that we have on our phones, we found a nearby logging road that was able, with the shuttle, was able to come pick us up early because we were running low on food. And instead of trying to press on and turn 1 day's worth of food into 3 days and kind of going hungry, we were able to make it work and cut it short and readjust our plan on the fly to keep us healthy and alive, if I'm being completely honest.
Yeah. That's huge. I mean, that is, essential to know when to play and when to fold them, right? There's a Kenny Rogers song in there somewhere, but that is great. I could really, I have a million questions I could ask you guys, but I'm not going to take up your time. I do want to thank you for making time for us. I do want one last question, and Nate, I'll start with you. What are some things that you learned about yourself and about Mike that kind of surprised you?
Well, I've gotten a lot better at reading Mike's emotions, so I know exactly how he's feeling most of the time after 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And he knows the same about me.
Yeah, I would imagine you've gotten to know each other. But you guys have been buddies for years, right? Kindergarten or first grade or something?
Child's play since pre-K.
Preschool.
Preschool. So that's a good long time.
Yeah.
Funny enough, a lot of people on the trail jokingly or almost mistake us as actual brothers. You think, "Oh, you guys are brothers," and we're like, "No."
Yeah.
We just look and act a lot alike. Except,
not biologically brothers.
Of a beard as Nate does.
Yeah, and that is pretty impressive, I have to say. And what about yourself, Nate?
I'm kind of learning. I don't know. I'm learning like the limits that I can push myself to.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know I can do something 8 hours a day every day now, so I don't need weekends anymore.
Oh.
So.
Yeah.
Like, I'm learning just how hard I can work.
Oh. Well, that's interesting, and that's a real self booster for you. That's great. Yeah. How about you, Mike? What have you learned about Nate?
Um, well, I've just definitely. Oh, wait, let me think. I mean, definitely, it's a mix of kind of how to better read each other, and I've learned how to better read him, and also kind of how to read my kind of in a weird way read kind of myself through him, kind of knowing, I can be like, oh, well, I have this idea, but Nate doesn't really want to do this, but then also realize, hey, also neither of us is perfect either, and it's just kind of learning how to I tend to plan when I kind of have an idea of how we should do things. I tend to think very optimistically, and Nate tend to think a little bit more pessimistically. And so actually having that contrast and having that meet in the middle is, well, albeit sometimes frustrating, is actually a really healthy dynamic. And funny enough, we often have moments we've considered calling them Canadian standoffs, where neither of us wants to make a decision. So we're like, well, hey, what do you want? What do you want for dinner? Oh, I want this. It's like, oh, I don't know, your choice. Well, dang it, I was hoping on you to make a choice. A lot of this standoff of just who wants to make the decision, who wants to call, who wants to decide what they want for dinner. It's this whole chicken game. And then in terms of myself too, I kind of same along lines of Nate as well. I've learned kind of how hard I can push myself, and also how well I can function away from, because my parents, they are definitely the kind to plan out and kind of organize and stretch everything, and I've kind of learning how much I've inherited that ability and that drive to be self-autonomous, as well as just how I can function away from the nest, really.
Yeah. Well, that's a wonderful that's a wonderful thing. It takes some people years to figure that out. So the fact that you guys have a little inkling of that, I think is fantastic. And I just want to. Here's some other good questions. So when your parents met you, did you guys stay in a hotel with them, or just like eat and then you guys would go back on the trail?
We stayed in a lot of hotels in town and hostels. Mm-hmm. So we spent a good number of nights in motels and hostels.
Oh, that's good. So it's just nice to break it up. But a lot of nights in the tent and a sleeping bag as well, right, on the ground?
90%. 95%.
Well, and also to the question too is, when my parents did meet us in town, we did almost called 0 days, where you hike into a town that evening, and then you just take the entire next day off. You don't do it. You just kind of bum around town for a little bit. It's a rest day. You spend a lot of time vertical, being completely honest. But it's a rest day, eating a lot of food, but also just sleeping in a real bed, taking a shower, doing your laundry, and it's just allowing yourself. Really, it's the more important thing is allowing your body to heal. And those days are when my parents would meet up, and they would get like 2 hotel rooms. They would have one, and we would have one, and so that's how we would manage that.
That sounds perfect, and obviously therapeutic as well. A day of rest, because it's pretty brutal. All that walking, it's brutal on the body too. Yeah. And then, are you guys planning on going to college in fall of 2021? Excellent. Do you know where you're going?
I'm going to Roanoke.
Oh, nice.
And I'm going to High Point University.
Fantastic. What are you guys going to be studying?
I don't know yet.
Okay, good.
I'm also probably entering the program undecided, but interested in pursuing business and mainly entrepreneurship.
Oh, fantastic. Wonderful things. Well, it's good to go in undeclared. There's no rush for anything, and you guys are having an incredible education right now, of yourselves, of the world, of other people, geography, as well as stamina and stick-to-itiveness. So it's very impressive. You guys are just obviously determined, and I'm thrilled to. Maybe you guys will come back when you're done after you get to Springer Mountain in Georgia. I would love to have you guys back on, and we can chat a little bit more about the trail. You guys can give. Are you guys going to write a book?
No.
I might. We'll see. Maybe not a full book. Maybe like a short memoir or something.
There you go. You could write an article for the Zebra Press.
I might do just that.
We love good stories like that. So, well, listen, Mike and Nate, I just thank you so much for making time for us. I'm thrilled you're going back tomorrow, and I know that your families are so proud of you. You guys are just wonderful, wonderful young men, and really doing a fun thing that I will tell you. There's a lot of adults that might be viewing this, and even the ones not viewing it. I mean, it's a dream to hike the Appalachian Trail, and you guys are doing it beautifully. You're doing it at a great time in your life. I mean, do you think that COVID-19 kind of conveniently hit at a time when it was kind of it made sense for you guys to take a year off and do this?
Especially now that we're each taking gap years too, because we can now have time to kind of let these colleges heal a little bit and go back to normal instead of having a first year being online and paying several $100,000 for 3 Zoom calls a week. It's more of we can actually enter a college kind of life that's had time to recover.
Sure, absolutely. And you guys are going to be, a little bit different, a little older, a little wiser than you were, back in June when you left Westpo, that day. So, it's all good. It's just, it's all wonderful things. You guys are getting a lot of love here in our comment box. Our publisher, Mary Wadlin, says you guys are great and impressive, and she really is loving the show, and she wants you to send us some blogs along the way. Did I ask this already? Are you guys keeping a journal? Did I ask you that?
I kind of am.
Mm-hmm.
We have a small YouTube channel that's just me talking into the camera every few days.
And I'm not really keeping a journal, but I am posting on Instagram when I can. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to do a lot of that in the top half of Maine because in a section of the trail labeled the 100-mile wilderness, surprise, surprise, I didn't get much cell service. So, but when we're going down south, hopefully that might change. And if so, I'll definitely be keeping nice photos of just the trail and the nice views and just the experience as a whole.
Yeah, your photos are great. It's wonderful to follow you. Do you want to give your, I should have typed it in, but I didn't think of it. You have an Instagram account, and it's M and N on the AT. It's
much easier to write a link, but it's N_N AT adventure, I believe.
Okay.
I'll send you. I'll send out the link to it and make it.
Hey, that'd be great. Yeah, put it on the comment thing. That'd be great. Well, listen, best of luck to you guys, and I'm glad that you're in touch with your parents. That's quite reassuring to all parents out there. But we are just thrilled and living vicariously through your wonderful adventure. Mike and Nate's excellent adventure. I think there could be a good book in the offing. I don't know, but
we don't have a time traveling phone booth. But yeah.
Okay. Well, listen, you guys, take care, and thanks again for coming on ZTV. It was just a real, honest-to-God pleasure to talk to you, and good luck, and may the force be with you.
Well, thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.
Sure thing. Anytime. All right, guys. See ya.
Take care.
Okay. All right. Well, boy, what a pleasure speaking to those guys. This has really been a wonderful a treat for me to speak with them, and so thank you all for viewing in, and thanks for all of the comments and questions and likes for these guys. It was really a pleasure to talk to them, and we really appreciate your viewership, everybody out there as well. So I'm gonna sign off for tonight, and I would like you, everybody out there, as much as you can, to be kind, and if you Oh, I'm going to say one more thing because Elizabeth, Mike's mom, just posted the Instagram address in the comment box. So please go ahead and look at that and follow them. Their pictures are amazing. Their commentary is even better, as you can see. So go ahead and follow Elizabeth. Thank you so much for putting that up there. Okay, so that's it for tonight. Be kind, and as much as you can, be the good news in someone's life.